All right, so you're thinking about a career as a bodyguard,
Wow.
and you've got a big interview coming up.
Yeah.
Talk about pressure.
Big time.
But don't worry, we're going to take a deep dive today into what it takes to prepare for that interview.
Absolutely.
We've got RoleCatcher's Career and Interview guides to help us out here.
Great resources.
We're going to unpack exactly what those interviewers are looking for,
Yeah.
how to really stand out from all those other candidates,
Right.
so you can land that dream job.
That's the goal.
The career guide kind of paints this really interesting picture of what a bodyguard actually does. It's so much more than just, being physically strong and imposing.
Yeah, definitely. It's not just about muscle. You need mental agility, too.
Right.
You're constantly assessing threats, thinking on your feet.
Yeah.
And then you've got the whole client interaction piece.
Oh, right. I forget about that.
Yeah, that can be tricky sometimes.
So you need people skills, too.
Big time. You got to be adaptable. Every client's different.
And the guide mentions diverse environments.
Oh, yeah. One day you could be protecting a politician, the next a celebrity.
Oh, wow.
Could even be a CEO or something.
So you're in all these different places all the time.
Yeah, it definitely keeps things interesting.
That must be one of the perks of the job.
For sure, the variety is great.
But I guess that also comes with challenges, right?
Oh, absolutely. Each client has their own needs and, personalities.
Right.
And different levels of risk.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So you got to be able to adapt your approach.
Before we jump into the interview questions, though, I'm kind of curious about this RoleCatcher AI tool.
Oh, yeah.
The one that analyzes your answers and gives you feedback.
It's pretty cool.
How does that actually work?
So basically, it takes your responses and compares them to, successful answers from similar jobs.
Right.
It can point out areas where you can improve.
Oh, wow.
Suggest better ways to phrase things.
That's really helpful.
Yeah, it even helps you tailor your answers to that specific company.
Oh, so it's not just generic advice.
Nope, it's all personalized.
That's amazing.
Like having your own interview coach.
Okay, let's dive into these questions then.
Sounds good.
The first one here in the interview guide is, describe your experience in providing security to high-profile clients.
This is your chance to really sell yourself.
Right.
But don't just list your past jobs. They want to hear about specific situations.
So like stories.
Kind of. You got to make it interesting.
Got it.
Talk about the challenges you faced, how you handled them.
Professionally, of course.
Of course.
So instead of saying, I protected VIPs at events,
Right.
I give an example like I managed security for a CEO at a product launch with, thousands of people.
Perfect. Bring those experiences to life.
With details.
Yeah. Did you have to change the security plan last minute? How'd you handle a potential threat?
Right.
Those are the things that'll make you stand out.
And I bet they'll ask follow-up questions too.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like maybe, tell me about a time you had to balance a client's desire for privacy with their security needs.
Exactly. They're testing your judgment.
Right.
Seeing how you handle those tough calls.
Balancing those competing priorities.
It's a tricky one.
Okay, next question. How do you stay up to date on the latest security trends and technologies?
This is all about showing you're serious about your career.
Always learning.
Exactly. Security is constantly changing.
So you can't just rest on your laurels.
Nope. You got to be ahead of the game.
What kind of things should you mention here?
Industry publications you read,
Okay,
courses or certifications you've taken,
got it.
maybe professional organizations you're a part of.
So you're showing them you're not just a bodyguard, you're a student of the profession.
That's a great way to put it.
Now this next one gets to the heart of it. How do you assess potential threats and risks to your clients?
They want to see how your mind works.
Like your thought process.
Yep. Don't just say, I observe my surroundings.
Right.
Mention specific techniques.
Do you have an example?
Sure, like the OODA loop.
What's that?
Observe, orient, decide, act.
Oh, so it's like a framework.
Exactly. It shows you have a system,
Right.
not just reacting randomly.
So being strategic about it.
Exactly. You can also talk about gathering information.
From different sources?
Yep, like open source intelligence, social media, even behavioral analysis.
Wow. It's like being a detective.
It is. In a way, you're piecing together clues.
To prevent something bad from happening.
Exactly.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. How do you handle emergency situations, such as medical emergencies or physical attacks?
Now we're getting into the intense stuff.
Yeah, this one's a little scary.
But it's important they want to see that you can handle pressure.
So what should I focus on?
Your training and your composure.
Okay,
Mention any relevant certifications you have.
like first aid CPR?
Yep. Those are good ones.
Anything else?
Self-defense, maybe.
Right.
But even more importantly, give an example of how you've handled an emergency before.
A real-life situation.
Exactly. Maybe you de-escalated a confrontation, provided first aid.
Or even evacuated people.
Right. Those examples show you can think clearly under pressure.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, this next one could be tricky. How do you manage conflicts with clients or other members of their team?
Yes. The people skills again.
It's gotta be tough sometimes, right?
It can be. You're dealing with all kinds of personalities.
And sometimes egos, too.
You got to be diplomatic.
So how do you answer this one?
Focus on communication.
Being a good listener.
Exactly. And finding solutions everyone can agree on.
So you might say something like, I believe in open communication. If a client disagrees with my security recommendations, I calmly explain the rationale and, we work together to find a solution.
Perfect. That shows you're a problem solver, not just a rule enforcer.
This next question is interesting. How do you ensure the safety and security of your client while respecting their privacy and autonomy?
The balance between protection and discretion.
Yeah, it's a fine line.
It is. You got to be proactive, but not overbearing.
Invisible, but effective.
Exactly. It's about understanding your client's needs and boundaries.
So, some clients might want a visible security presence, while others prefer a more low-key approach.
Right. You got to adapt.
Are there any specific techniques you could mention?
Sure. Things like blending into the background at social events, using subtle hand signals to communicate with your team.
That's smart.
Or prioritizing non-intrusive surveillance methods.
So basically being a security chameleon.
I like that analogy.
Okay, one last question for this part. How do you manage stress and maintain focus during high-pressure situations?
Another important one.
Yeah, this job's got to be stressful.
It definitely can be.
What are they looking for here?
They want to see that you have healthy coping mechanisms.
Right.
That you can stay calm and focused even when things get crazy.
So I shouldn't pretend that the job's never stressful.
Nope, be honest, but then talk about how you manage that stress.
So things like mindfulness practices, regular exercise breathing techniques.
Exactly, those are all good ones.
And having a support system?
Yeah, having people you can talk to is crucial.
Okay. Any tips on how to answer this one effectively?
Be specific. Give examples of the techniques you use.
Okay.
And highlight your ability to prioritize tasks, stay organized.
So basically showing them you have a system.
Exactly, both physically and mentally.
Okay. I'm feeling fired up and ready for more.
Me too. Let's keep going. All right, let's jump back into those interview questions.
Sounds good.
This next one from RoleCatcher's Guide is all about logistics.
Okay.
How do you handle the logistics of providing security for a high-profile client, such as travel arrangements and scheduling?
Oh, so like all the planning and behind-the-scenes stuff.
Exactly.
Sounds like you need to be super organized.
You definitely do.
I'm guessing it's more than just booking flights and hotels.
Oh, way more. You're coordinating these complex itineraries, sometimes across different time zones.
Wow, that's a lot to juggle.
Yeah, you're securing transportation, figuring out the security for each part of the trip.
Right.
And you're dealing with a lot of different people.
Like who?
Drivers, hotel staff, even local authorities.
But you got to be good at communicating, too.
Absolutely. Communication is key.
What kind of things should I mention when answering this question?
Definitely talk about your experience with travel planning, especially if you've worked with VIPs before.
Got it.
Mention any specific security protocols you're familiar with.
Okay.
Especially those that are relevant to different environments like airports, private jets, big events.
So showing them you can handle different situations.
Exactly.
What about technology?
Oh, yeah, there are tons of tools that can help.
Like what?
Project management, software security apps, even just a shared calendar.
Oh, right, to keep everyone on the same page.
Exactly.
So a good answer might be something like, I'm experienced in planning secure travel itineraries, including flights, transportation, and accommodations. I use project management software to stay organized and make sure everyone's in the loop.
Perfect. That covers all the bases.
Okay, next question. This one is interesting. How do you ensure the safety and security of your client while also respecting their privacy and autonomy?
This is a big one. It's all about finding that balance.
Between protection and discretion.
Exactly. You can't be overbearing. You got to be subtle.
Right, you're a protector, not a jailer.
Exactly. It's about reading people and situations.
Understanding your client.
Exactly. You need to know their preferences, their boundaries.
So, do they value privacy above all else? Or are they okay with a more visible security presence?
Right. You got to adapt to each client.
It's almost like you're creating this custom security bubble around them,
I like that.
one that fits their personality.
Exactly. And you can mention specific techniques you use to maintain that balance.
Like what?
Well, for example, I often dress in civilian clothes to blend in at events. I use subtle hand signals to communicate with my team. And I prioritize non-intrusive surveillance methods.
Those are really good examples.
It's all about being effective but discreet.
Right. The client should feel safe but not suffocated.
Exactly. And RoleCatcher's AI can really help you refine your answer here.
How so?
It can analyze your response and suggest more impactful phrasing or highlight specific examples that'll really resonate with the interviewer.
That's helpful. Okay, this next question is important for any high-pressure job. How do you manage stress and maintain focus during high-pressure situations?
Stress management is crucial in this field.
Yeah, you got to be able to stay calm when things get crazy.
Absolutely. The interviewer wants to see that you have strategies for dealing with stress.
What kind of things should I mention?
Be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Acknowledge that the job can be stressful,
Right.
but then focus on the things you do to manage that stress.
Like what?
Maybe you have a pre-shift routine that helps you get in the zone,
All right.
or you use mindfulness techniques to stay grounded.
Like meditation.
Exactly. Or even just having a playlist that helps you focus.
That's a good idea.
It's about showing them you're proactive about managing stress.
Right, not just letting it control you.
And don't forget about strategies for maintaining focus. Maybe you prioritize tasks, compartmentalize information, or use mental rehearsal to prepare for different scenarios.
So you're ready for anything.
Exactly. You've got your mental toolkit.
This next question is all about teamwork. How do you work effectively as part of a team, including other bodyguards, support staff, and the client's team?
Teamwork is essential in close protection.
Yeah. You're not working in a vacuum.
Nope, you got to be able to communicate clearly and effectively.
Both verbally and non-verbally.
Exactly. You're constantly coordinating with your team.
Right, and you might be working with people from different backgrounds with different personalities.
That's true. You got to be adaptable.
So what should I focus on when answering this question?
Highlight your ability to collaborate with diverse teams,
Okay.
delegate tasks effectively,
Uh-huh.
and create a climate of mutual respect.
So everyone feels valued.
Exactly. You can even share an example of a time you had to resolve a conflict within a team or adjust your approach to work with someone who had a different style.
Those are good examples.
It shows that you're a team player
Someone who can handle different personalities.
and who understands that communication is key.
Okay, let's tackle this one. How do you handle a situation where a client is behaving recklessly or putting themselves at risk despite your security recommendations?
This is a tough one.
Yeah. What do you do when your client doesn't listen to you?
It's a balancing act. You have a duty to protect them.
But they also have their own free will.
Exactly. So you got to be diplomatic.
How should I approach this question?
Focus on your ability to communicate clearly and calmly.
Yeah.
Explain the risks involved in their actions. Offer alternative solutions. Try to find some common ground.
But ultimately, they get to make the decision.
That's right. You can't force them to do anything.
So what can you do?
You can document your concerns, adjust your security protocols to mitigate the risk.
Okay.
And if you think their actions are really dangerous, you might even need to inform other people, like their family or their lawyer.
So you're covering all your bases,
Exactly. You're doing everything you can to keep them safe.
even when they're not cooperating.
Right. It's a tough situation, but it comes with the territory.
Okay, next question. This one gets to the heart of being a bodyguard. How do you stay motivated and maintain a high level of professionalism even when the job requires long hours and constant vigilance?
This is about showing them your passion.
That you're not just in it for the paycheck.
Exactly. Gotta love what you do.
So what should I highlight in my answer?
Talk about your genuine interest in security.
Okay.
Maybe it's the challenge, the satisfaction of protecting someone, the constant learning.
Right, it's about finding those things that keep you going.
And you can mention specific aspects of the job that you find rewarding.
Like what?
Building relationships with clients, developing security strategies, mentoring new team members.
It's about showing them that you're invested in the profession.
Exactly, and that you have the stamina to handle those long hours and the mental focus to stay vigilant.
Okay, last question for this segment. This one feels pretty intense. Imagine you're faced with a sudden security threat while protecting a high-profile client. What's your instinctive first move?
This is a classic situational question.
They're really putting you on the spot.
It's about seeing how you think under pressure.
So is there a right answer?
Not really. It depends on the situation.
So what are they looking for?
They want to see your thought process,
Okay.
how you assess the threat, make decisions, prioritize actions.
So I should walk them through my steps.
Exactly. Start by explaining how you'd evaluate the threat.
Like, what's the nature of the threat? Who's involved? What are the immediate dangers?
Exactly. Then you'd outline your initial action.
How you'd protect the client.
Right. While also trying to de-escalate the situation and minimize harm.
So it's about showing them you can think clearly and act decisively even under pressure.
Exactly. And don't forget, RoleCatcher's AI can help you practice your answer here.
How so?
It can analyze your response and give you feedback on how to make it even more compelling.
That's really helpful. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground, but I think we have time for a few more questions.
Let's do it. I've got plenty more insights to share.
Okay, round 3.
Let's do it.
I feel like we've already talked about so much,
Yeah, we've covered a lot.
but I know there's always more to learn,
Oh, definitely.
especially with a career like this.
It's complex.
Okay, so this next question really gets to the heart of it. How do you stay motivated and maintain a high level of professionalism, even when the job requires long hours and constant vigilance?
It's gotta be tough sometimes, right?
It can be those long, uneventful hours can wear on you,
Yeah, I can imagine.
but that's where your passion comes in.
So what should I focus on when answering this question?
Talk about what drives you, what makes you excited about this work.
Like the challenge of it.
Exactly, or the satisfaction of knowing you're protecting someone.
Right. Or maybe the fact that you're always learning new things.
Those are all great points.
And I guess you could also talk about specific things you enjoy about the job.
Yeah, like building relationships with clients.
Right. Or maybe you love coming up with creative security strategies.
That's a good one.
Or maybe you enjoy mentoring newer team members. It's all about showing them that you're genuinely invested in this career.
And that you're not just in it for the money or the excitement.
Exactly. It's about finding those things that make you tick.
Okay, this next question is interesting. Imagine you're in a high-stakes situation, and you have to make a split-second decision that could impact the client's safety. What principles or values guide your actions in that moment? It's almost like a philosophy question.
It is, in a way, it's about your core beliefs, the things that drive your decisions.
So what kind of answer would impress the interviewer?
Talk about the values you hold most dear.
Like integrity.
Exactly. Or courage, or maybe loyalty.
It's about showing them that you have a strong moral compass.
And that you'll always do the right thing, even when it's hard.
Okay, last question for today, and it's another tough one. How do you handle a situation where a client is behaving recklessly or putting themselves at risk despite your security recommendations? That's going to be a nightmare scenario.
It can be, but it's something you need to be prepared for.
So how do you navigate that kind of situation?
Communication is key.
So talking to the client.
Exactly. Explain the risks calmly and clearly.
But what if they don't listen?
Then you have to document your concerns.
To protect yourself.
Right, and adjust your security protocols to mitigate the risk.
So you're doing everything you can to keep them safe, even if they're not cooperating.
Exactly. It's about finding that balance between respecting their autonomy and fulfilling your duty to protect them.
This has been such an insightful conversation.
I'm glad you found it helpful.
I feel so much more prepared for my Bodyguard interview now.
That's great to hear. Remember, preparation is key.
And RoleCatcher's resources are amazing.
They really are, especially those AI-powered tools.
Yeah, those are game changers.
They can help you tailor your answers, practice your delivery, and really stand out from the competition.
So everyone listening out there, if you're serious about becoming a bodyguard, check out RoleCatcher.
You won't regret it.
And before we wrap up, I want to leave you with this thought. Imagine you're standing between your client and danger. What kind of protector will you be?
It's a question worth pondering.
Think about the legacy you want to leave behind.
That's a powerful way to put it.
Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive.
Thanks for joining us.
We hope you found it helpful, and we wish you the best of luck in your bodyguard journey.